Check. Good. Usually a subtle shift in perspective is all it takes to trigger an avalanche of understanding. So if you've been playing the same 4 licks in the same 4 chord shapes since like literally before the pandemic, then this video is for you. The simple reason you're stuck in a rut is because you're not learning new tunes. You're not learning new sequences of harmony. The classic mistake is trying to come up with new vocabulary out of context, right? So context being like song forms and things like this, right? An expansive vocabulary is just a natural byproduct of an expansive awareness of harmonic progressions. So instead of trying to write all the harmonic progressions yourself, there's this whole thing called jazz standards. It's like infinite. And you can write them in any style, any time signature. They're insane, right? They're just the triangle of completion, which is just harmony, rhythm, melody. You put those 3 things together and it's just golden dynamite. So you can understand why understanding jazz is really just understanding the fundamental framework of creation itself. Jazz is like a deep cosmic thing. You know, I'm repeating myself, cliches on cliches, but everybody knows that jazz is like the secret language of fluency in music, right? And you know that the classical composers, you know Chopin, you know Bach, you know these guys, they improvised. The recordings we have of them are like not even probably their best work theoretically, because you know improvisations can be so beautiful, you know, when you're inspired and you have that feedback loop of improvisation inspiring you to improvise even deeper, and you've put all of these systems in place to be able to express your soul's deepest emanation. In order to do that, in order to channel from source, you got to lay down huge systems, right? And so jazz is like, okay, ultimate framework, right? And then from there you're zooming in, right? You're using T-highs, you're using beat cycles, you're using substitutions, but the basic fundamental reality of all music is straight up rhythm, harmony, melody. Always. So it's pretty obvious, if you want to break out of your rut, all you need to do is just learn a new tune, right? That's literally always the answer. I'm telling you the God honest truth, it's always the answer. And this compounds too, because in the process of learning like 10 new tunes, yeah, exactly. I don't have to say it. Now, obviously, implementing the knowledge to be able to fluently express yourself in music in the jazz triangle framework of rhythm, harmony, melody, there's a lot of work to be done in terms of training yourself about harmony and like basic principles of harmony and how it works. And then also rhythm too. You got to lay that infrastructure, right? So that's what we're going to actually do in this video. I'm going to show you how to practice essentially, right? In a way that you've never even realized is even an option, so that you can actually see the jazz framework for what it truly is, broken down into its basic components, right? So the classic cheat code that they don't want you to know about is playing rubato. Practice your harmonic construction rubato, because you're giving yourself time to think. That's the key thing, right? The classic trap is that you don't ever play rubato, so you're playing muscle memory licks because you're not giving yourself enough time to think about a better or an alternate decision, right? Practicing rubato not only gives you time to think about all possibilities, it actually just allows you to focus on voice leading, which is the fundamental gravity of melody, right? Voice leading is telling you where melody goes in this basic principle, which is you're actually trying to connect chords as smoothly as possible, right? So that's kind of like the basic goal. And then voice leading is like the technique to actually do that. So we're going to look at that on all the things you are, because you know it's classic, and you're just going to see how I voice lead using shapes that you're very familiar with already, and I'm just going to voice lead those shapes as single note lines from one to the next. Here's the illustration. Perfect F minor, gonna voice lead that in the same shape to B flat minor. B flat minor, 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 B flat minor Notice how I didn't move any chord tones more than a half step. I'll do that in sequence without me yammering through it, okay? Voice leading, right? I'm just connecting the chords in the natural way that they connect. And the thing is, wherever you start, like I'm just starting here. Like I can start anywhere. There's F over here, there's F over here, there's F over here. I can start anywhere, but it's like, okay, I'm starting here. And then once I choose my starting point, my fate is straight up sealed, dude, because at that point, the voice leading, the machinery of the universe is actually just gonna guide every note choice I have. And that only works if you actually understand the machinery of the universe, which really is voice leading, right? So let's continue with this exercise, okay? Just to illustrate it, right? You're gonna have 10 billion questions, and I can answer those in, if you join my program and you work with me. Right now, I'm trying to show you what the paradigm is. When you see what that is, yes, you're gonna have a lot of questions, but those can easily be answered relative to the framework that you're finally understanding. So we're gonna continue on in this logic, okay? I'm taking time to think about my next decision, just like you should, to make sure it's a good one. How about this? Why not, right? The point is, all styles are fair game, right? Let's keep going. Oh man, I really butchered that ending there. The point I'm illustrating here is when I play out of time and I take a moment to think about each decision, I'm making the best possible decision. That decision is informed by voice leading understanding, right? I understand the first principles of voice leading. So now the harmonic side of improvisation is essentially automatic. And I've already said 100,000 times that your greatest asset as an improviser is rhythm. And what I mean by that is voice leading does all the work for you in terms of melody. You don't even have to try at that. It's automatic. You just understand it on a fundamental level, and everything you do as an improviser is then informed by it, and you automatically improvise beautiful lines. And guess what? A lot of them end up being triadic mostly, like 80% of them. Where did we leave off? I think we're like A minor. We're like halfway through it, dude. Let's finish it. Let's finish it, dude. Do the work. And I'm just showing you my deep bag of tricks and how I execute this stuff. I'm practicing my arpeggio combos, right, to all the things you are, but I'm doing it slowly so that I can learn more arpeggio opportunities, right? I'm trying to surprise myself every time. That's what is fun about doing the rubato approach. If you actually let yourself think about it, you're gonna make like the sickest choice ever. And what that's ultimately doing is training you to do that in real-time improvisation. But notice how like the compositional, like slowed down time thing is always just furthering your ability to improvise, and that cycle is a crazy feedback loop because your ability to improvise informs your ability to compose. You know this one. cycle feedback loop right there. And I think it exposes the cosmically fundamental implication of jazz and music, and how music and jazz are connected through this idea of fluency, right? If you're fluent in music, it's probably because you studied jazz at one point, right? Of course, there's plenty of examples of like insanely fluent musicians who aren't like jazz musicians, but ultimately that's why the term jazz doesn't really sum up what we're talking about here. We're talking about fluency. It's just that jazz for sure provides the best framework. If you're not already fluent and you didn't come there naturally or whatever from like your parents teaching it to you when you were like 2 years old, you got to do what the rest of us did, which is learn jazz. And it's worth reiterating the point that, jazz is really a mindset. It's fluency mindset. When we talk about fluency, what does it actually look like? It actually looks like that triangle of basic fundamental musical components: rhythm, harmony, melody. So you know the drill. If you want to learn this stuff and you really want to unlock it, you really want to trigger the waterfall of enlightenment, you already see how it's done, right? I will help you to get 100,000% of the way there. Send me an Instagram message to inquire about our potential work together. Get in on this new form of pedagogy. Once I show it to you, you'll be able to show it to anyone. And that's why this is a good idea, right? This is why this is gonna like blow up, and you know that. You can see how like no jazz teacher for some reason has ever thought about pedagogy in this way. They're actually thinking about it from a classical sort of perspective, right? They're like using classical vocabulary and stuff, and they're not using like a new vocabulary to describe jazz. That's essentially what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to use like a new series of terms that are meant to trigger knowledge that you already have gained from intuitive playing. If you're still watching this video, you obviously have a hugely strong intuitive connection to music, and maybe you want that full-blown like framework of like comprehensive music paradigm knowledge, right? You just understand everything kind of thing. It's like, dude, that's so much easier to learn than you think. And that's because nobody's really been teaching it very effectively for like all this time, but I am. That's for sure my calling, dude. That's for sure my message. That's for sure my duty, dude. I'm gonna get it done, kid. So reach out to me so we can do it together, right? So we can build courses together, because you understand the whole situation here is you're gonna work with me, we're gonna create course modules, we're gonna put those course modules in the school, and we're gonna build out a giant infrastructure of music pedagogy that's going to become known as the best music pedagogy ever, basically. And we're gonna leverage fretboard geometry, right? We're gonna teach all the instrumentalists fretboard geometry. It's basically the best way to understand intervals. That's the cheat code. It's right here in front of your face. I remember when I was in high school and I was doing like AP music theory, right? Obviously I crushed it because I just cheated and used fretboard, and I just taught everyone fretboard theory, and they could figure out all their triads and their voice leading because they're thinking about it on the fretboard. That's just what I'm still doing. So guitar players do have that unique advantage. If you've been playing guitar for like 5 years or whatever, you already understand enough about the fretboard to literally like trigger all of that. That's why it triggers it, because you already kind of know it, right? You see it, dude. All right, so let's get in on the old ground floor. Hit me up, send me the message on Instagram, and we will talk about your comprehensive musical enlightenment, because that's what's going on here, dude, at the Systems for Creation YouTube channel, which is just my name. That's what we're doing. We're talking about comprehensive musical enlightenment. We got systems for triggering it, and just busting open like infinite creative abundance, because once you see all of the opportunities, then you're permanently inspired. That's what inspiration is. It's just being aware of the opportunities. Music is this beautiful thing where you've got like sort of infinite possibilities, but you can somehow wrap your head around it, right? That's what we're teaching essentially. So you got it, dude. You know what to do. Talk to you soon, kid. When I say kid like that, it's supposed to be like a mid-90s reference, like you're on a playground and you call somebody kid. That's what it's about. Mm-hmm.